Well, welcome everybody. So glad to have you here. Today we are going to help you solve your biggest PT challenges. And honestly, this is a continuation of our presentation at PPS that was so wildly successful. We heard from all of you, and basically if you weren't present, what we did is we gave both red and green post-it notes. And what you were supposed to do is write all of the things that are going really well on the green and all the things that you are finding challenging on the red. So we only had a half hour, so we only had limited time to tackle some of those challenges. So this conversation is just going to be a continuation of all the rest of those challenges that we're going to work through. However, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please, there is nothing off the table. If you have questions that you want to throw out there that you want us to handle live, we encourage you to do so. So much so that we are going to have another raffle like we did last time in our Zoomcast, where it's going to be anyone who asks a question or participates will get an entry into our random raffle. And we're raffling off one free coaching hour with a value of $500. So please, please participate as much as you possibly can. I want to introduce our panelists today. So first and foremost, we have Mr. Brian J. Gallagher, who is the founder of MEG. We have Ferrara, who is our billing manager and my go-to for all billing related questions that she always, I feel like, has an answer for. So she's definitely a guru. And then we have Peter Cartier, who is the owner of St. Louis Marketing and a partner of MEG's. So he's going to really help us tackle some of that digital marketing content and website stuff. So we have an expert panelists here, and they are all a wealth of knowledge, so please take full advantage of those guys. A couple of links we want to throw up here are the 4 Keys program that is for new people who aren't clients of MEG already, but just by being here, you have access to our 4 Keys program. So again, a lot of good content in that program. It's worth some CEU credits, so please take full advantage of that. It will help you evaluate your practice currently. We also have a link for MEG Academy just to check out the different package options. If it's something you want to talk about further with us, please reach out to us. We will have a contact us form as well. If you have any specific questions and aren't sure what program might be best for you. And then finally, we have our billing analysis form that you can fill out if you have any billing related questions or you want a billing audit. So Allie is in charge of that and will handle any of those billing audits. Our next Zoomcast is going to be at the mid to end of December, and we're going to try and tackle and unravel the final rule for Medicare. So that's kind of the content coming down the pipeline. But for today, again, and I want to start by just jumping right in because we have a lot to get through. We're going to just throw out problems, and then we'll start with Brian. We're going to come up with some solutions together to some of these major problems. So first problem that we're going to tackle is growth and identifying additional revenue. That's a big, broad topic, Brian. So
that's a broad topic, 30,000 foot view. And look, there's a ton of answers to that and how you can actually grow and expand your office, but we only have so much time, and Nicole has limited me out of the group the most.
Never.
So I'm going to ask you a question back. So it was really great when we were at PPS and we had that room full of people, and we had our half hour, and that was really great. But with the body of knowledge that we have sitting here in this room, I think it's even going to be doubly as good. And so to ask you the question, what is the difference between scaling and expansion? I think that's where we have to start. If you want to see growth happen, growth is a combination of the ability for one to scale and expand. And where am I going with that? If you have an existing practice, 1,500, 2,500 square feet, you have to find particular strategies of how you can scale within those 4 walls and under that roof. Get that into a strong, healthy condition with your standard operating procedures, your SOPs, your systems of operation that are cutting edge and innovative. in order for you to then expand into that second location, third location, fourth location. And as you know, there's certain phases of growth in a physical therapy model. There's 1 to 3 clinics, a certain window, certain business model, certain system of operation, and then 4 to 9, which is kind of the danger zone of growth. You want to get through that as quickly as you can. And then once you get to 10, 15, 20, you could bop out, multiple clinics after that. Now, how do you do that? I'm going to give you 2 secrets to success on doing that. Number 1, I would highly recommend that all of us in private practice find 3 income verticals. Let's find 3 income verticals. The healthiest, most successful businesses worldwide, and quite a matter of fact, according to Forbes magazine, the wealthiest 500 people in the world have multiple income verticals. And it's just a known fact. If you're just going to be driving your car down one lane, that's all you're ever going to have. But if you could do PT, OT, speech, if you could do aquatic therapy, personal fitness training, and PT, pediatrics, vestibular, cash-based services, whether it be massage, Pilates, something like that. Not that I highly recommend those, but find what your passion is, find what's working for you, find 3 income verticals. One of the verticals I highly recommend that you do is at least 20% of your total business, your total GI be in cash. I think we cannot continue to stay all in this insurance market. I think we would all agree. Reimbursements getting reduced again in 2022. PTAs are getting cut back 15% according to Medicare. It's just the trend, and it's just going to continue to be that trend. People are willing to pay out of pocket for high quality care, for high quality services. You must be one of those providers that's providing the Nordstroms of physical therapy. And you're going to want to do that by charging cash rates for that. So that's my answer for number 1, growth and identifying ways to expand. But please know your strategies of scaling first, then expand into new locations after you've got your 3 income verticals and you've mastered the ability to bring in 20% of your total yearly GI in cash.
Yeah, and some of the ways that we do that is to make sure that we have some processes in place to know, how big can that one practice be? So like our production center formula, like how many patients that can it accommodate? And I think what you said is really smart about, kind of making that blueprint that you want to expand into other markets, making sure you have all the systems right and the personnel right and the onboarding correct and efficient in your existing practice before you can start to move outside your 4 walls. So.
You're right, Nicole. And I think there's a lot of us that we let the entrepreneurial spirit in us take over, and we're on to the next thing before we've perfected the first thing. And we're just squirrel, we're just on to the next thing, And it's not gonna serve you well. Nicole shared with you one of our executive tools to successfully develop this is our production center formula. And I'm going to drop one more successful tool for you. We have a whole library called the File Vault of all of these tools already mapped out. You literally put your name and logo on it, you're good to go. And then we coach you on its application. And one of them is the 85% rule. The 85% rule was perfected by physiotherapy back in the 1990s. They were the fastest growing physical therapy practice in the history of physical therapy. And they did it largely with this 85% rule of payroll on how you actually get to scale hiring new people. A lot of you think, I can't afford to hire that new therapist. I'm going to be upside down. I don't have the revenue. I don't have the patients for it. I'm not having the collections. Physiotherapy figured this out. And we have actually looked at that model, refined that model, improved that model, and we actually teach that model. Therefore, you can actually bring new clinicians in, and you're never going to be upside down in your payroll. In a remote case that you might be, it would be a month at best, but rarely do we ever see that, so that you can just continue to scale comfortably and not be upside down on your payroll.
Yeah, and we use spreadsheets to figure out the numbers because, not everyone's structured the same. So, it is some customization to that. So yeah, absolutely. Very well said, Brian. Okay, next problem that we're going to tackle is financial management. And I think before you even start talking here, I think financial literacy, that is something that we really want to expound upon in our MEG Academy training, because I do think it is incredibly important. We graduate PT school and we become expert clinicians, but we're not really training on the numbers piece of it, that CEO hat. So it becomes very important that we get skilled in that particular area, because you have to have a healing hand, but you also have to have a business hand. So knowing your numbers and understanding, financial management is crucial. to this equation.
Yeah, and that's perfectly said, Nicole. That's a perfect segue into what I'm going to share. And again, very quickly, Nicole's limited my time. I'm going to give you just 3 successful actions, 3 bullet points that you can apply today that I think will give you some good ROI, some good return on your investment. First one is, again, looking at the person first. As Nicole said, some financial intelligence. Wear your financial hat. If you don't have a financial hat, you have to learn what it is, what falls under that parameter of being a financial director, being a financial manager of your own practice. I know we didn't go to school for that. That's why MEG is so big and popular and we get people so fast, because PT school brought you out as a staff physical therapist and you're very well trained and had to do that. But it did not teach you how to be a recruiting director, marketing director, finance director, billing director, and the list goes on and on and on. Compliance officer, all of those things. That's where we pick up and we take you the rest of the journey. And in order to do that, we definitely need you to understand a few basic things. And I made myself a couple of notes here. The very first thing that always shocks me is physical therapy private practice owners who cannot spit out off the top of their head, what does it cost to deliver a treatment session? What is your cost per session? What does it cost for you to do 40 visits a week, 80 visits a week, 200 visits a week? What are your relative costs to deliver that session? If you don't know that, you have to know that. You have to find a way to calculate out your operating costs, your direct payroll costs, and so on. So knowing your costs, very, very important. Secondly, know the impact of the largest expense on your practice to the overall health and well-being of the practice, and that would be your payroll. If I'm going to look at payroll, I'm not going to just look at the total dollars going out the door in payroll. I'm going to take that per month and divide it by the total FTE, the full-time equivalent of employees that I have working for me, because I have got to know what is my gross income, my GI, what is my GI divided by staff. Am I overstaffed or understaffed? That number is going to give me a good indication of whether I have low producing staff members or frankly, I'm just overstaffed, right? And there's a scale, 2,500 or higher, 2,000 to 2,500, 1,500 to 2,000. So the first window I gave you would be excellent. The next one would be good, 2,000 to 2,500. The next one would be fair, 1,500 to 2,000, and it's poor, anything under 1,500. So that's a key executive statistic that we would train you on and how and what to do about it. We don't believe in you tracking statistics just for the numerical value of it. If it's something we're going to ask you to track, it's because there's something you're going to do with it. There's something you're going to apply to it to change the condition inside your practice. And last but not least, my third thing here is, and I think this is probably the biggest earth mover for me when I was getting trained and had it as a financial manager, is what I like to call, and I just kind of made this word up myself, I like to reverse accounting, reverse bookkeeping. I think when people go to accounting school and bookkeeping school, they're taught to, money comes in, pay your bills, put some money in reserves and then pay yourself. I like to flip that around completely. When money comes in, you pay yourself first, meet your reserves second, pay your bills last. When you commit to that financial strategy, you will be naturally generating wealth within your personal life and your professional business life as well in your business. It will increase your level of necessity. It'll increase your level of effort to have enough money left over to pay those bills. If you do it the other way and there's money left over, you're like looking around as to where to spend money. Nicole says that all the time. Well, if we have extra money, I know where we can spend it. I'm like, I know, Nicole, I'm not coming to you as a spending bank of knowledge, but she has it. She always seems to have somewhere to spend the money.
So you
guys have got to reverse it.
True.
Am I right, Nicole?
You're totally right.
There you go.
Massages. What I spend it on.
That's all I wanted to hear was I was right. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on number 2. I hope those tokens are really helpful for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good advice, Brian. And we're gonna hop into the next topic as we kind of cruise along here that I feel like everybody is feeling the pain on, and that's the hiring and recruitment. And it kind of goes along, hand in hand with like staff development. And we kind of got into a little bit of a discussion about this prior to, but yeah, I want your take on what you think some of these major problems are arising from, and I'm going to give you my spin on things.
Okay, so I'm going to just jump around a bit. I think there's a little bit of a environmental, political, societal influence that's going on right now that, I've been a therapist for 29 years. I've never seen it this way in my professional life ever. I just pulled up the statistic of the labor force participation. It's sitting at 61.3. It's the lowest in 25 years. So in 25 years, there's never been this low of a number of people who are willing to enter the workforce and work. And that's going to lead to Nicole's part, because Nicole's been really diving in deep and digging deep and educating and looking at really cutting edge things about, well, what is that pool made of? And how do we nurture the best and the brightest of that existing pool?
So we have
I'm concerned.
People. Go ahead.
We have what?
I was going to say, we have less people, but
Yes.
not only that, the ones that have been left in the pool they're less qualified. Maybe not as high emotional intelligence. And also, we've seen this big boom where we've had to kind of restructure or rethink about the structure of physical therapy practice, because we've had this like huge infusion of technology too. I think I was telling you, like I walked into the grocery store, recently.
Yeah, this is great.
We used to have, there's used to be like 6 lanes open and whatever. And there was one lane open with an actual human being. And then they like gutted out half of the conveyors and put in the self-checkouts. It's like you're doing it yourself. So humans are being replaced with technology. And guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't hop on that bandwagon and kind of get with the times, we are going to be left behind.
And
not to explore these options.
Nicole's absolutely right. I'm sorry to jump in on you there, Nicole, but your point is so well made. I mean, I go to a restaurant at an airport now, and there's no waiters and waitresses. I sit down at the iPad and I just order my food, and somebody just drops it off, and I pay and tip and everything right there. So, I just booked an oil change for my car right from my computer. So humans are being replaced. Less people are joining the workforce. Post-pandemic, a lot of people reassessed their values in life and said, I'll just work from home or I'll work part-time. So here's what's happening. So that's the big thing. I said I was going to jump around a little bit. So that's the big thing. Let's get down to the small thing. The smaller thing is we still have a business to run. Yeah. We still have people to treat. We still have a very physical, hands-on, close-knit type of business. We're not producing widgets here. We're actually caring for people.
We have to have a human element.
We have to have a human. We have to have a human. But everything else where we don't, I'm sorry to say, and it's against my desires, but it is my job. Our job is to help you succeed in business. Nicole and I are fully entrenched in developing a new paradigm for the physical therapy practice moving forward. And what we wholeheartedly believe is what we've been able to do in billing. We have successfully built a pyramid style network of 53 billers in 16 different states. So we can fish the best fish out of multiple ponds, where when you're a private practice owner in Spokane, you're shopping Spokane, and it's probably pretty picked over. So outsource your accounting, outsource your bookkeeping, outsource your billing, outsource your credentialing. And what we're going to say next is outsource your front desk. You're going to have to confront that. In many places moving forward, we're going to just simply have what we call a digital remote front desk. It's going to be a combination of a human being on a screen and a digital kiosk, and people are going to be able to flow in and flow out. There's going to be cross-training of your PT tech, because the only people we want to see on your payroll in our new paradigm, in our new futuristic world of PT, is the DPT, the PTA, and the tech. Now, I'm not going to get into it more than that, but that is what I think is coming. And I think Nicole and I are going to be at the forefront of evolving that. We're pulling in technology. We've had several meetings already, and we hope to roll this out in the first quarter of next year. And I'm going to pass it back to you, Nicole. But I think we're really talking about, and I want to leave you with, it's time to shift the paradigm, because you can't afford not to when Taco Bell's paying $21 an hour for someone to work at the counter.
And if you can streamline the personnel and
Yeah.
really focus your attention on, the producing staff. It not only frees up some capital to be able to pay them a competitive wage, but then you can play around with flexibility, because that's the other tip to give you is, people today are looking for flexibility. They've been allowed to work from home for the last 2 years. They've been allowed to kind of flex their schedule to accommodate. So if you can kind of keep that as the shiny object to really help pull the talent to your operation. And part of that is, let's say you don't want to outsource your front desk now, but if you can streamline the operations of the front desk and, get some automation with intake, get some automation with reminder calls and things of that nature, and use technology in a more limited fashion, you're going to do yourself a favor in your recruiting process as well.
Absolutely. And I'm going to end it with this one last tidbit, because I think Nicole's going to move on now. But Nicole makes such a good point. If you don't have your fingers on the pulse of what is most valued by the people you're bringing in, how are you best going to nurture the company culture you're looking for? And I've been saying this on my podcast. I've been saying this on YouTube. I've been saying this from the stage. I've been doing a lot of public speaking lately, and I'm going to say it to you here. Success. What is your definition of success? Because our definition of success is to afford you flexibility with matched stability that gives you freedom that equals success. If you can think of it in a triangle, if you can exercise maximum optimum flexibility in your personal life and professional life while having all the stability you need, your mortgage is paid, your income is met, your car is paid, in Nicole's world, the tractor is handled in SUV, and you have ultimate freedom because you can exercise both, that truly is success, because you're not beholden to anyone else. That's honestly why we've done 28 startups in the last 14 to 15 months. We have done so many startups because people are like, I'm done being the effect of working for others. I am taking the steering wheel and I'm driving this car down my own path. Yeah. And hats off to you.
Yeah. We had like the 3 A's, right? The anticipate, analyze, and adapt. So if you can anticipate and kind of rise above the crowd and see beyond the immediate future, that will allow you to kind of implement some things that you can then analyze to see if they're working, and stats and metrics that's all a part of that. And then being able to pivot and adapt and not being married to one thing. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of with our platform is we're anything but static. We have our yearly updates to our LMS, but then we've created a Slack, mastermind community that allows us to educate as we go and learn ourselves so that we can continue to adapt, evolve, and move forward. So that's
we're learning from each other. We're learning from each other in ways that we never envisioned. It's so innovative. It's so cutting edge. It's just a big, big community. It's really nice.
Yes, we have some questions here. Okay, so Jennifer, you mentioned some technology at one of your sessions at PPS on metrics. I did immediately sign up with Weave, and I'm currently implementing it for e-faxing, texting, and paying. My office manager has gone remote and will be using this. Any other key points with Weave that I should be focusing on? With Weave, I don't know. I don't think we can speak to Weave specifically. Yeah. We've aligned with them because a lot of our clients have gone with them and have been pleased with the level of service. In the flexibility in what it can and can't do. I do know like some of the, forwarding features so you don't miss out on calls, especially, when COVID was really in the thick of it. It really helped a lot of those practice owners that we worked with. I know another company that we have worked with in the past is called Raxia. And they have done a lot in terms, and Allie, you can probably jump in here and help with that, but they've done a lot with automating the intake process. So I don't know if you can add to.
Raxia is also really great for email statements, text statements, and just improving that entire patient process.
Yeah, good.
And I think, Nicole, we have to mention Better Health. I mean, we did a joint delivery at PPS with Better Health. The ability for your proposed patient or your prospective patient to just go on your website and literally schedule themselves an evaluation, and then you confirm it. It's kind of like a request and you confirm it, and it's all digital and you can track all those metrics. It's a must. It's really a must. And I think it's so unbelievably affordable. I thought it was going to be really expensive for all that service. It's really not.
Okay. And Alika, hi Alika, wants to know what are some other ideas for income verticals?
Well, I would definitely look at personal fitness training. I think that's one of the biggest hits. I think that works really well as an income vertical. I'm going to be doing a podcast in the month of December on ergonomics that you can actually service employers in your community, and it's all packaged, it's all rolled out. You join this company and they actually handle your education and implementation of it. I think that's what's nice about what Nicole and I are developing with this front desk new paradigm. We're going to handle the education and rollout and application of it. You're going to, wonder like, well, how do I do this? How do I do that? We're going to teach you that. We're going to show you that. We're going to train you on that. You're not going to need to figure it out yourself. So I think the ergonomics, that the company that we're working with in Canada is a great income vertical. I think the newbie eSTEM is another possible cash income vertical. I think dry needling, laser, things like that. I don't.
Brandy, this is your question.
Yoga, massage, things like that.
Yeah. So yes, Brandy had a question. Do you consider cash services extra packages such as needling, cupping, laser? Yes, that's all considered, the different.
You need to find ways, what your community most needs and wants, and deliver that.
That's a good one. Kevin, thank you. Yes, I like that. And I think demographic, it's a big factor in all this. Like, what's your demographic? What's your, where's your location? What's your area? So it's hard to be like, well, use these three. These are the top, because it's not the same for everyone.
Well, Kevin McGovern was on here and he says sports training. He's got a program called Game 7. You guys have got to check this out. He's got this thing tooled in. It's been with baseball players and so many other sports. Dial into that. Dial into health coaching. Another one of our clients out in Delaware is doing extremely well with this specific health coaching. So there's lots of venues, and honestly, we can help you if you're in our group. We can help you for sure connect to some of these resources where it's already been time tested and proven to be successful. We're happy to connect you.
Okay, here's a good question. So when offering cash-based services that were mentioned above, can this still be offered in the public because we are contracted with Medicare, Medicaid, Aetna, BCBS? So the rule with that is that if it's a covered service, you cannot offer it as a cash-based service. But if it's a not covered service, so like dry needling is not currently covered by, by Medicare, you can offer that as a cash-based service. So that's where the, compliance line is drawn, is you cannot offer cash, based service if it's covered by Medicare.
Any of the federally funded programs, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, you cannot do that if it's a covered service.
Right.
I know personally for myself, I have Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO. I have been able to go to providers like get an MRI or X-ray, and I have said, what is your cash? What is your cash rate? And I pay cash instead of using my insurance. So there's still that possibility on the commercial side. And it's different in states. You have to verify that, definitely get that looked at. But for me, I have successfully been able to actually be on the receiving end of that.
Okay. And then there's another question from Toby. Then what about massage? Most insurances do not cover it, but some cover massage therapy.
Right. So
specific to,
you got to ask yourself, who's providing the service? Is it a licensed massage therapist, or is it being done by a PTA or a PT, right? So if it's being done by a PT, PTA, it falls into physical therapy, and you have to bill physical therapy as a covered service. If you have a separate massage therapist who's coming in, well, one of the ways I would do that is I wouldn't employ them. I would 1099 them, let them come in and just contract them and let them bill the patient, and then they pay you, right? And you're getting paid that way. Or maybe you're renting a room. Not a big fan of that, but people do that. So there's different arm's length arrangements, whether they're a contracted employee, a W-2 employee, or a rented room. That is a particular conversation that we would have with you, depending on where you are and what state you're in and how you want to do it.
Yeah. And then another question, would the newbie then fit with personal fitness training for cash pay?
Yeah, it's being used in a personal fitness training world, cash pay, in hundreds of locations right now. My advice there is I like to defer you to Jason Waz. Go to NEUBIE, newbie what is it? PT Tech, right? Newbie PT Tech is.
Yeah. Let have Matthew drop the link.
Go ahead, Peter. You go ahead. Tell them.
No, it's fine. It's just newpttech.com. So NEUPTTECH.
Just to answer Brittany, yes, there are practices that do bill the newbie under, I wouldn't say cold laser, I don't know about that, but I know newbie fits under the NMR, neuromuscular rehab code
97112.
Yeah, so I know that is something that is certainly appropriate.
If you're following the protocol, it's neuromuscular rehab.
Yeah, right. And I had a question back here before I move on. Okay. How is Better PT different from a link for appointment request on our website sent to text in Weave? And to confirm, the other app we mentioned, it's not an app. Raxia is not an app, right, Allie? It's Raxia is the company's name.
Yeah, Raxia is the company's name, and it's exactly how she spelled it.
Yep, that's right. Okay, so Brian, you can maybe speak a little bit to, I think the scope for what Better PT has is just a little bit more diverse, right, as to what it can do.
It does a lot more in terms of the metrics recording. I mean, it'll literally tell you where they're coming from, how many you had. It'll tabulate it automatically. It's going to give you your full digital dashboard. The person will actually be able to schedule them, look into the schedule, put themselves in Tuesday at 2. And it's a tentative appointment, but they've got their appointment, and then your office person or whoever checks the schedule will then reach back out to them, says, yep, looks like everything's good. You're set for Tuesday at 2, or, oh no, we need to verify your insurance first or do something, or maybe you put yourself in the wrong slot. That's a half-hour slot. You need an hour slot. So it just does more in a more complete style, but most importantly, I would say its depth of statistical recording and data retrieval it's automated. It's a great program, really worth looking at.
I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit just so I can hear someone else talk. Peter, can you tell us, because we have an issue, or we had one of the challenges that came up is website is behind, meaning like, not up to speed with the look performance reporting. So can you talk a little bit about some of your solutions to that?
Yeah, make it faster.
Thank you.
It was great. We had a lot of conversations at PPS, and I see some familiar names in the attendees. So good talking with you guys. And yeah, one of the major things that people are always worried about is my website doing enough? And then one of the first things you ask is, okay, well, how's it performing? And then that's the conversation stopper right there, because people are like, well, I'm not sure. And so obviously there's Google Analytics. That's a way to monitor some stuff. And I'll throw onto the chat here some metrics that you could be reviewing on the regular. But your website, it should be no surprise that your website should look good, right? And by that, I mean visually attractive. It should be well designed. It should make sense from a user experience. So there should be a natural flow to how a homepage is going to lead people through the information of why they should be considering you. Everyone's just scrolling all the way down to the bottom, and then they come back to the top, and that's the typical behavior. So you want to be serving the right information in the right places, and then putting call to actions in natural spots where you would continue to lead them. Some people call it a funnel, but just leading them along till they schedule an appointment or request more information or download an ebook or some marketing or sales asset that you have. So yeah, having those call to actions to convert users, because having a billion visitors to your website is no good if that's not converting into useful marketing leads or eventually customers. But speed and stability, I think, is something I've seen in this industry. A lot of the people who, fired up a free WordPress website or a theme from once upon a time. And I think with Meg, we've been able to work with a lot of clients who had this very slow website. It take a couple seconds to load, and right there you've potentially lost them. And there's statistics around how quickly people move on if they can't get to the page they want right away.
We have to be mindful of like device too that they're using, because I feel like everyone's on their phones nowadays. So if you,
Nicole, that was my next point.
great.
Nicole, that was my next point.
Okay.
Stole my thunder.
Nicole.
This is classic Nicole.
I'm learning about websites, guys.
But yes, so looking great on mobile is just as important as looking good on the desktop, and having that mobile experience, because sometimes it's different than the desktop experience. So your designer, which is often you, using a lot of these CMSs that are drag and drop, and it's really easy to say, I want a video here, I'm going to have an image here, I'm going to have a headline here. You can drag and drop, and then you can optimize it in the mobile view. And you need the right kind of platform, which is your CMS. So that's what WordPress is, or Squarespace, or HubSpot, or any of these. So you need one that you know how to use, that's easy enough for you to use, because these also come with a lot of great metrics. And I know this was another question, kind of talking about how do I track metrics and everything like that. And so I'll copy and paste. I put something together. It's the website metrics that you should be reviewing regularly. And it's your organic traffic. So you want to know how many people are coming to your site via Google or search engines. So if they're typing stuff in any local searches, you want to know how many people are coming through that way. You want to know your click-through rate. So you're going to want to know how many people have come in my site and then clicked on to schedule an appointment or download that ebook, whatever it might be. At the same time, another click that's not as fun is the bounce. So that's where they click exit, or they leave your site. And so you want to know how often that's happening, how quickly that's happening, how many pages they viewed before that happens, what specific page does it happen the most on, et cetera, so that you can optimize that page and say, hey, I'm clearly not giving the information that they were looking for on this page. So I need to amplify this, elevate this message, provide more information, whatever it might be. Keyword rankings, we're all local businesses. You want to know that you're performing well in your area. So what keywords should you be ranking for? And you can use a lot of free tools online. You can type in, free keyword tools in Google, and they're going to give you a plethora of options. And so you can just start running some searches and seeing where you show up for that. Now you want to keep track of that. Backlinks, you want to know who's linking to your site. Are there any local thing, Chamber of Commerce, stuff like that in your community that can be linking to you per industry buckets? You want to be involved in that. We talked about page speed, but you'll be able to measure that as well to make sure that it's performing well. And then finally, that conversions, you want to know that you're getting an ROI from your website, that people are completing the schedule an appointment form, or that people are downloading the ebook so that they go onto your email marketing list, so that when you send them content, potentially that leads them back to the website to schedule that appointment.
We have a question from Josh, and he said, just getting started, what is a good tool to look at for developing a web page, or for a few resources?
To develop a web page, assuming, let me see if I see this question here.
Does he mean like a website, like developing his own website?
I think so.
Yeah.
So developing your own website, there's a lot of tools that'll get you started really easily, like Wix, Squarespace. I love HubSpot, but
Meg would be.
Yeah, well, that's the end of the day, right? Is Meg can do all this for you. And I know Matthew supplied and I shared my notes to the host and panelists. Matthew, if you could grab that and post it as well. But Matthew put a free website analysis on there too. So that's great. That is a bunch of information that Meg will provide you for free about your website, or talk through, for a startup's case, talk through what kind of website you're looking for. So we can give you a bunch of free information that you can take and try to build your own. If you've got the time and money, you can build it yourself, or the experts at Meg can handle it. So to that point, there's a lot of different ones. I just try to tell people to stay away from the free WordPress themes. They're very clunky, and one thing that they And we see this all the time, and it's always a hard conversation with owners when they say, well, I went 100 miles an hour down this road with WordPress, and now I'm all the way here, and the site takes forever to load, and there's all these issues. And nowadays it's really easy to get your domain, your hosting, and easy plug and play website building tools for an affordable rate, anywhere from $200 for the year for your hosting and your access. So
Okay, good.
hope that answered the question.
Nicole, I just wanted to jump in on this topic because Peter, I'd like to get your opinion on this. I was sitting in a seminar at PPS, and the person up front was saying, your website has to be a working installation for your practice. It has to produce products for you, right? It's not just to be a digital billboard. And she says, I can tell you right now, for all of you in the crowd, if your website has a picture of you stretching someone's hamstrings, you have a terrible website. And I had a client yesterday who just called in, and he ended up joining Meg Academy. And I always check people's websites before I get on the phone. And that was the homepage first photo, was a picture of him at the table stretching somebody's hamstrings. And the point is, I say this all the time. Don't spend your time as a PT owner doing things that you as a CEO should not be doing. Spend your mental attention units on the things that only require your level of expertise, your oversight, and your experience. I used to run Cat 5 cable in my clinics. I used to paint the walls. I used to repair the scratch. Man, all the hours I spent on doing that, I could have been spending on building my company culture, promoting more business, hiring more people, doing better operational systems and instituting them and innovating and researching and creating. Definitely my advice, and Peter, you've seen it 100 times, the do-it-yourselfer may be cheap on the front end, but it's more expensive on the back end. And I just wanted your feedback on that because I kind of chuckled at that seminar.
Yeah, and I think at the heart of it, you kind of brought home the theme of like, let's always, do what we do best and outsource the rest kind of thing. And
right.
In the world of websites, again, jumping onto a Squarespace, anyone, and this is the beauty of the access that we all have now to be a web developer ourselves, and we can all build a website, whether you did any training or not, whether it's going to be a high performing website, that'll, time will tell. But one of the benefits of, leveraging someone else's expertise and experience is certainly in the organic search engine optimization world. So being able to do the audits and analysis necessary to know what keywords matter, what kind of on-page and off-page optimizations need to be made so that you're showing up in your local market. And then also the competitor analysis of, how can we differentiate from everybody else in this 30 miles around us? What are they doing? What are they focusing on? What kind of search volume are they getting? What blogs are they creating that are performing really well on their social media that you can then spin up your version of, well, here's my take on that subject. People seem to care about this. So just leveraging the competitors in the area to both model good behavior and then also see opportunities to improve upon or totally differentiate yourself and stand out for your patients.
And I think in a basic level, so many of us PTs, we know content, but we don't know how to write the content well. We don't know how to write it well for the reader, right? Or we're too wordy. We don't have the appropriate video that communicates our message, right? I'm not a big fan of the do-it-yourself because you can doesn't always mean you should. I've just seen the quality difference of what you and Matthew have put together for so many of our clients compared to what so many people start off with. And it's a website, but it's not.
I think that's all very good information, and we're gonna jump ahead just because we're getting a lot of questions here in the chat, and I want to make sure I hit everyone's question. So we have one question kind of going back to this whole Medicare, Medicaid compliance. If a person wants to pay cash for PT and they do not have a federal supported insurance, is that allowed? Allie, I want you to have a chance.
I would check your insurance contracts before you do that, just because there There might be a clause in there somewhere where they say, hey, if a patient comes to you and they have our insurance, you must bill us first.
Yeah, that'll be said in the contract. And sometimes the contracts, Allie, will say, we follow Medicare guidelines. In the absence of a jurisdiction in our contract, you can assume we're going to follow Medicare guidelines. They kind of put that in there sometimes as a catch-all clause.
So just be careful and make sure you're reading through your contracts before you do that.
Yeah. Okay, good. We're going to talk. So we have a question about marketing to referral sources. And then also, okay, so we can talk a little bit about marketing to referral sources, just very briefly, Brian, because I want to move on to some of Allie's questions that she has to handle. But can you talk about just like maybe a couple tips on, the keys to marketing to referral sources?
So if you're marketing to your referral sources, the very first thing you want to do is find out what's most needed and wanted. What is most important to them? Some physicians will tell you, convenience. I need to know that we can just write the script and they can get in. They can get in a reasonable time. I don't want to hear from my patient they waited 3 weeks to get their eval. So for some doctors, it's the swift, it's the speediness of convenience, right? For others, it's I don't want to think about it. I want to send everyone to you because I know you're in network with everybody, right? So maybe that's most important to them. For some, it's I never hear back. Doctors have told me, and this is the surveys. These are I'm giving you the survey data that we've harvested over the years of surveying referral sources. They'll say, I like to send my patients for physical therapy, but I never hear back. I never hear back from the therapist. How did it go? What happened? What were the findings? If you want to hide something from a doctor, put it in the chart, right? I mean, Nicole's husband's a doctor. That's how it is. He's not going to spend time reading stuff, right? So you have to use certain strategies to put the information in front of the doctor, such as a Dear Doctor letter. We have this digital Dear Doctor letter that you can actually fill out really quickly, give to the patient, put the doctor's name on it, and the patient will hand deliver is the key word, to the doctor what's going on in their therapy as an written update by you. That's marketing to referral sources, using putting a jersey on your patient to go out there and do it. Dropping off is still a big deal. If you drop off information that shows you're innovative and you're doing something that nobody else, look, the human brain sees two words and interprets them the same. Different equals new or better. Different equals better. Those two things are synonymous, right? New is better, different is better. So use that psychology, get in front of them and let them know what you're doing new, let them know what you're doing different. They're intrigued. They will be intrigued by that. But by all means, use survey data.
It's so funny, but like even the simple little things, like if you could be thoughtful in your delivery of that, thanking them for the referrals. Like I actually just posted in our Slack community, one of our old executive clients, Rob, if he's watching, but he put together a little like care package for each one of his referral sources with all healthy, went to Costco, got all healthy little snacks and wrote a handwritten note on each one of them, thanking them. He said the following week, he got 20 new patients from just doing that. I mean, it's simple and, but it works. So the boots on the ground stuff still works.
It does. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Nicole, but people who do human well, do well, right? Mm-hmm. I live in this small community now, and I can't tell you how many people that I do business with, and they say, appreciate you. That's what they say. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Yeah. Like they literally look you in the face. They literally genuinely interested and appreciate the fact that they had time with you. Please be humble and spend that time with your referral sources and express that in your way, in your unique way. That will indicate to them.
Okay, one other question, and then I'm going to hop over. I promise, Allie, we're going to get to you. But I think this is a good one. Kind of going back to this hiring retention. We talked a little bit about some of the tools that we need to answer. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. But basically, they want to know tips on retention, like how do I keep the good people? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's 1,000,001 gamification and employee engagement strategies you can use. I'm going to share with you one that's been a leading strategy. It's worked quite well. It's called the holiday payroll game. You create a holiday payroll game where everybody who's hired, you say, hey, guess what? We have this holiday payroll game where after Thanksgiving, the 1st of December, we're going to pay out of this fund. You are allowed to set aside up to $25 per pay period. We will deduct $25 per pay period from your payroll, and we'll match it. The company's going to match up to $25. Some people say, hey, I'll let you deduct up to $50, but we'll match the first 25. whichever way you want to go. It's fine. So you match dollar for dollar, goes into a separate account. And then after Thanksgiving of that year, you pay that out as a bonus check to them. You give that money back. You get that to them as but it's got to be taxed. But you give that to them because it's like layaway, right? It's like layaway. You're setting money aside for a future expenditure, and that's all their Christmas money, or that's all their holiday money, or whatever holiday you celebrate. But but the company has done it for them, put them on that budget, and that's a pretty fun game. A lot of people like that sort of thing, because you're looking out for them personally, right? This is a personal perk. This is a personal benefit. That's one. I mean, there's a ton, but Nicole won't let me go on with it.
I know. I'm going to move you on. But I do think one of the tips that I think is very important is to, people want to be acknowledged and they want to be validated. And I think one of the most important things that you can do on a regular basis, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, is to check in with your producers and making sure that, their goals are aligned with the company's goals and that you're updating goals, because how I feel today might be different than how I feel 6 months from now in terms of what goals I have for myself, personally. So making sure you're staying in touch with them and supporting both their personal and professional journey, I think helps with that idea of retention.
And you can do that with a 10-minute meeting once a month. A 10-minute meeting, that's all it takes. We have had hundreds, if not thousands of owners now do this. 10 minutes once a month with each and every employee, and it's their 10 minutes, like Nicole said. It's to acknowledge and validate them. It's not for you to educate them or correct them. I don't care if they sit in the 10 minutes and they're like Allie and they talk about their 36 puppies all day long. I mean, whatever they want to talk about, they'll talk about whatever they have, but it makes them feel heard and validated. And they'll tell you what's important to them.
Okay, Allie, I'm going to get to you because we have like literally 8 minutes left. So another problem, patient collections.
Yeah, so this one seems to be a big problem with a lot of clinics, and I think a lot of clinics just feel bad collecting payments from patients. We have a lot of people that are very hands-off with that process, but I do stress that it's super important, especially with the new year coming up and deductibles resetting and out-of-pockets resetting, is that you make sure you are collecting as much as possible at the front desk at the time of service. Once that patient walks out the door, your chance of collecting that money from the patient is going way down. A lot of offices they have an estimated fee schedule that they hang at the front desk. So if it's a co-insurance that they're collecting or a deductible that they're collecting, the front office staff knows how to estimate that off of that estimated fee schedule.
Yeah, that's good advice. And, having a process in place so it's not the checkout where they're paying, I think that's a big one because, people tend to zoom out and have somewhere else to go. If you can make it a process where you're collecting before services is being rendered, I think that is a good kind of strategy to put in place. So that's good advice.
And
what about
Allie, wouldn't you say it's important to bill and post really quickly so that you could balance bill the patient while they're still an active patient?
Exactly. That's another important thing, especially with the new year coming. You want to make sure that those, even though it's a zero pay EOB, which frequently get missed, you want to make sure that those are getting posted as soon as possible so the patient can be billed the next time they come in for their visit.
Right.
Right. I think you're just showing off your billing chops.
I got to tell you, I taught Ellie everything she knows. It's just one of those things.
Lord help her. Okay.
Allie could teach me a million things.
Okay. Billing department performance. Like, how do I know if my billing department is doing what they're supposed to be doing, whether it's outsourced or in-house?
So you could reach out to me and schedule a free billing analysis so I can go through and check on things for you. The things I look for are I review your aging report. I make sure that there's notes and accounts that are outstanding, see what people are doing to get outstanding claims processed and paid. I go in there and make sure that there's no adjustments happening that shouldn't be happening. And I also check your posting. I make sure claims are going out every day. And these are all stats that you should be keeping track of for your billing department as well.
Awesome. Okay. And do take advantage of her billing assessment because it's awesome and thorough. And I'm telling you, she will tell you if everything is great. I've had the last couple actually have been good billing practices, and we will absolutely tell you if you're spot on. Okay, good. Is 20% cash measured by volume, number of patient visits, or gross revenue?
Gross revenue.
Gross revenue.
Gross revenue. Really simple. Yep. Total gross revenue. Did 20% come from cash or did 20% come from billing?
Okay. I do want to hit, and then we're running really up against the clock because I want to do the raffle. Don't leave, guys, yet because we have the raffle coming up. But I do want to hit briefly, and you can just really touch on this, but the importance of compliance policies and procedures and compliance record keeping. And you know, that's something that we have taken off the plate too.
Where do we start with that, Nicole?
I know, you can't really tackle this. So you guys,
where do we start?
Stay tuned. We're going to have our next Zoomcast, you know, really hunkering down on that topic. But I think all we need to say is that it's really, a compliance program is really being mandated in a lot of different states right now. Like you have to have one. And if you're caught kind of without, there's penalties for that. And even if there's things that you veer outside the lines in terms of compliance, if you have a compliance program in place, you have not only a resource to help kind of guide you through the process, but your penalties are going to become a lot less, your penalties and fines. So it just makes sense. I mean, we have so many people right now kind of going through audits, and just it's the nature of the beast right now. The government is looking for money anywhere that they can because there's a shortage. So you are exposed if you don't have a compliance program in place. So
and like every single thing we do, if you're doing great and you have all your ducks in a row, then there's no need to change anything. There's no need for you to buy anything or invest your time in anything. Atlee does free billing assessments to give you a stamp of approval, like, yep, your billing team, whatever your resources you're using, do not change them. They're doing great. Matt and Peter will analyze your website. Yup, it's wonderful. We're not going to have you do something that you don't need to do if it's working great. But when it comes to compliance, we also have a compliance specialist in Daniel Hirsch, and we can do compliance assessments. It's very easily done. But there's 18 different audits. You need to have a patient privacy officer. You need to have the high-tech security, and you need to have so many things that we never had to do before. Before we used to just check, PPD and, hepatitis and just keep it all in a binder and like, yeah, we ran them through the OSHA safety test. That doesn't fly anymore. You actually have to have digital records of, well, I guess you could try not to use digital records, but I don't think anybody would do that. You have to have records of the fact that your customized program is being implemented on a regular basis throughout the year, not once a year, but throughout the year. And I'm going to end there because we're going to have a whole special Zoomcast on compliance. And that's the thing that I fear most, is that so many of you listening to me speak right now, you don't have that in. And when they come knocking and when they serve it, it's too late. It's just, we get it every week. We must get a call a week, every week.
I'm going to do the little wheel of fortune.
There we go.
Matthew, because I know people are probably going to want to drop here soon because we're running up against the clock. So thanks for hanging in there. But we want to raffle off our 1 free hour coaching with Brian, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we won't judge you, whoever you pick.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we won't judge.
I'm in the very Christmas mood right now, so I got our Christmas wheel.
Woo! No whammies.
Ready? Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of people. Oh, Matthew, you are
Matthew.
It's a little laggy, Matthew.
Looks like Jem
giving
worked
Matthew too much free
yay.
So,
all right.
Very
I'll
good.
message you and you'll get contacted by either myself or Jennifer about setting that up.
Yes, we look forward to working with you for that hour, Jim.
All right.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I want to just wrap up very briefly and say thank you all for your time. I know we had a mouthful here, and I feel like even though we extended our PPS talk for another hour, it's like still not enough time. We are always here to listen to some of the challenges that you're personally facing and walking you through essentially like an audit of your practice. So we do those all the time. They're called practice assessments. We can pop up that link, and if you're interested in that, we can individually work with you one-on-one for an hour and kind of walk through some of your particulars. So with that said, if there's any like 5-second piece of advice that anyone has, Brian, I'm going to save you for last. Peter, is there any piece of advice you want to leave our listeners with?
I'd say do the competitor analysis that I mentioned. Take a look around and see, what keywords seem to stand out. Look at their social media, see what posts are performing the best. Just model good behavior and figure out ways to differentiate your messaging accordingly.
Yes. Allie.
My piece of advice, which is super fitting now, is to make sure you're coming up with plans for the new year, especially those patient collection plans, verification of benefit plans, and all of that fun stuff that comes with the new year.
Yeah, that's very good advice. My piece of advice as the end of the year is approaching, invest in yourselves and in your team. And I think now is as good a time as any. Put the time in now and it will return in dividends throughout the course of the year. Brian, 10 seconds.
Well, I think everybody's bit of advice here was excellent. I love what you just said, Nicole. I was thinking the same thing. I'll just leave you guys with this. I think what we strive to do here is to help prevent you from making mistakes that are easily avoidable. And I think the reason for that is because we just didn't get that training in PT school. So you invested $100,000 in yourself to become a great staff therapist, and then you did continuing education to become a great expert therapist. Ask yourself, this is my advice to you, ask yourself honestly and seriously as this year comes to an end, have you invested that same amount of time, energy, effort, and finances in yourself to be the best you as a CEO, COO, CFO? Because there's so many aspects of running a physical therapy private practice that you did not get training in PT school. And that's where we like to step in. I put my head in my hands in 2002 and I said I would pay anyone anything if they would come here and just show me how it's done. I'm a good student and I will follow through. If that's how you feel, anything you do, anything you sign up for with us or anyone else before the end of the year is tax deductible. You don't pay taxes on it. You're paying in your education. Take advantage of it so you have the best 2022 that you could possibly have. That's my bit of advice. But it starts with you looking at you saying, I want to invest in myself to be a better personnel manager, billing director, marketing director, and so on and so forth. That's my advice.
Good advice. All right. Excellent. That's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Yay,
thank you, everybody.
Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the MEG family.
Have a great holidays.
Bye, guys.